Hello crafty friends, working in my scrappy art journal today. I do a lot of experimenting in the background and I do like to play with mixed media, sometimes just as relaxation. The pages that I make aren't always great, I don't always love them, but I don't want to throw them out. I want to find another way to use them. This video will be part of my From Yuck to Yum series. I'm going to be adding some of these pages into my art journal spread today. While I was looking for a background paper, I also found these stickers that I'd made a little while ago. I love the bright colors, so I might be using that in my spread today too. My scrappy art journal has random pages. I've also used the one page as a color swatch for some markers, but I don't really love it and it's not really going to work with my idea. So I found a piece of cardstock that has big, bold writing on that I think will work great as the background of today's page. I'm going to attach a piece of that cardstock across both pages of my art journal, and I'm going to use Mod Podge for this. You could also use a glue stick or gel medium or craft glue, or you could just use the background paper already in your art journal. Remember, with mixed media, rules are few. You would have noticed I didn't measure this. I tore it with a ruler just roughly. I do like a rough looking journal, so I'm not fussed about it being exactly on the page edge. I like it overlapping. It really doesn't matter to me. The more rustic, the better. But that's just my style. You do you. Now I want to lighten the overall look of the writing. I don't want it quite so bold. I want it to go into the background and just shine through. So I'm going to add first a piece of white tissue paper over the entire surface. Again, I'm using Mod Podge for this. It doesn't matter if the tissue paper buckles a bit or makes some wrinkles. I think it just adds to the texture and the overall look. I'm adding Mod Podge over the top surface of the tissue paper too. This is just to protect it and make it a little stronger, so it doesn't tear or rub away in the future. Once all that is nice and dry, I'm going to tear off the excess tissue paper. Again, just using a ruler. It doesn't have to be straight. It can be quite rustic. Now, to lighten it further, I'm going to add some gesso, but I'm not going to add gesso across the entire surface. I'm going to make some areas more concentrated. I do like the contrast of light and dark, or more opaque and more transparent. I'm using a paintbrush for this, and then just randomly in certain areas I'm making the gesso a little thicker, in others it's a little thinner. I like that this makes the background not flat. I think it gives it good dimension. The idea for this page was actually inspired by a video or project that I did a few years ago. I will link the video to that in the description box below if you wanted to have a look. So while the gesso is drying, we're going to prepare our little bits of yuck that we have. I found a few more while I was looking through for some other things. So I'm going to just use my ruler and make some strips. I'm not really going to worry so much about where the patterns are falling. I'm just going to do some thicker ones, some thinner ones across a few that I like the colors of. These bright colors are talking to me today. I have found that once you create something that you're not really happy with the overall look, when you cut it down into smaller sections, there are certain parts that really work. So they are like smaller artworks that look great. This is what I found with tearing things into strips. I may not like the overall look, but a strip of it looks really, really good. These stickers are a label style and I just can only really cut them in half, so they're going to be smaller strips. And I don't know what I was doing here, but the little strips actually work quite nicely with the purple and the black. Once you start using these unloved pages in projects, you really go down a rabbit hole because there really is so much you can do. I will link the playlist in the description box below for this series so you can keep up to date with ways that you can use your yuck. Let me rather refer to it as yuck art, not just yuck. That sounds a bit odd. Now, working across the middle of the page from left to right, I'm going to place down some of my strips. I'm going to tear them down smaller. Some are longer, some are shorter. Some are placed higher up, some are lower down, but generally across the center. You could also do this with bits of fabric that would also look really nice, or even just scrap paper or any scraps that you have left over. It doesn't have to be with artwork you don't love or previous artwork. It can be with scrapbook paper, it can be with just offcuts that you have on your desk, anything that's lying around really. Have I already said that I really love these colors? Once you're happy with the placement of all your pieces, we're going to glue those down. I'm using Mod Podge. You can use craft glue, glue stick, gel medium, whatever you have handy on your craft desk. Be sure to slightly overlap each piece over the next so there's no gaps in between. And there where I tore mine, the edges are quite rough, some are not quite straight. I really like that look. If you're a bit more particular, you could have cut these. And you want them to be uneven. Now, the bright pink ones, as I mentioned earlier, are stickers. You're probably wondering why I'm using glue on them. Well, when I applied the paint, they did sort of peel off the backing a little bit, so they're not quite as sticky as they should be, and they will probably eventually fall off. So I'm adding glue to them just to secure them onto the page. I would really love if you subscribed to my channel. I have lots of art journaling, I have junk journals, making ephemera, and of course this is home of the Full Deck Challenge. When you subscribe, I would suggest you also hit the little notification bell so you're notified every time I upload new content. I'm loving this really dark blue on this piece of sticker. I think it's rather striking. Now that everything is stuck down, I am going to add a little bit of gesso just in some areas to blend a little bit of the edges into the background. Now you don't have to do this part, you could just leave as is, but I just find that will make it a little bit more cohesive and a little bit more as one piece, not everything separated like things stuck onto a background. Again, it's very subtle and it gets lighter as it moves into the colored part, and it's not everywhere, just in a few sections. I just love that misty look it gives it. I'm not going to overwork this page. I'm going to keep it quite simple. I think the colors just work and it doesn't need much more. I'm just going to add a sentiment in the bottom right hand corner using a little piece of black thread that I've scrumpled up and placed underneath, and then just placing the sentiment on top. Again, a very simple sentiment, black with white writing. I really hope you enjoyed watching me make this art journal page using some old art pieces. I hope you were inspired to try the same. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe. Happy creating, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.